Hello everyone and welcome back to Oba's Trending Gist. Today we are diving into a powerful and emotional speech by Malam Nasir El-Rufai, where he reminisces about the late Chief Audu Ogbeh. This isn't just a tribute. El-Rufai opens up about critical moments during Ogbeh's tenure as PDP chairman and a controversial plan by former President Obasanjo to potentially sideline certain states. Stay with us as we unpack these compelling narratives and understand its implication for Nigerians' political history. Take a watch.
Your Excellency Malam Nasir El-Rufai. Please can we welcome him with a very resounding applause as he goes up to the podium for his tribute. Yeah.
Your Excellency Mrs. Audu Ogbeh, the Ogbeh family, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to abridge the protocol. When I was asked to make a few remarks, I initially declined. Because for me, the subject of Audu Ogbeh is a very emotional one. He has played such an important role in my public life that when he died, I was not in the country, but I was too sad to even come to the point of writing a tribute. So it's very difficult for me. If I get too emotional in the end, please forgive me. And that's what I didn't want to exhibit, because I'm supposed to be a tough guy. I will share 3 stories of my interactions with late Chief Audu Ogbeh to underscore the high regard I had for him and will always have for him. When Chief Audu Ogbeh became the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, he convinced President Obasanjo and Vice President Atiku Abubakar that ministers or ministerial nominees should be interviewed. Ask them questions about their likely portfolios and get them to articulate a vision. As you know, when you're nominated for these positions, you get vetted by the DSS and all that. And your name just gets sent to the National Assembly. But when Audu Ogbeh was chairman, he insisted that ministerial nominees should be interviewed. So the 3 of them constituted a panel to interview us in June 2003. We're all interviewed. And when I came in, he was the first to ask me a question. He said, Nasir El-Rufai, what's your favorite city? I said, well, when I was single, I liked to go to Paris on romantic getaways. But my favorite city is Singapore because it is efficient, it works. And he said, so how long will it take you to convert Abuja into a Singapore? That was the first hint I had as a ministerial nominee that I was going to be posted to the Federal Capital Territory. Well, I responded and the interview was over. And I was posted to the FCT. Shortly after I settled down, we did an analysis of residential land allocations in the Federal Capital Territory and found that indigenous of 3 states in Nigeria owned 62% of all the residential plots in Abuja. I will not mention the states. But that worried me personally, because if we are building a Federal Capital Territory, everyone should have a stake. So I went to Chief Audu Ogbeh as chairman of the party and as someone that I consider my mentor. I went to him, I said, "Sir, there is a problem in Abuja." He said, "What is it?" I explained everything to him. He said, "Look, we have to inject a sense of balance in land ownership in Abuja for it to be a truly federal capital city." I said, "So what do I do?" He said, "Let's think about it." 2 days later, he called me, and his solution was simple. Let us identify the states that are not represented, that don't have people owning plots in Abuja, states like Bayelsa, for instance, and ensure that we grant them large allocations of land to the state government, either the State Housing Corporation or the State Property Development Corporation, to develop so that at some point the government can sell to indigenous of Bayelsa so that they all have a sense of ownership. And with that, we went to President Obasanjo. President Obasanjo endorsed the idea. But President Obasanjo said, some of these states that didn't vote for PDP, don't go to them. I said, "Yes, sir." So when we came out, we went to Chief Audu Ogbeh's house. He said, "Nasir, you're going to go to each state governor, whether it's ANPP, PDP, AD, we are trying to build a Nigeria for everyone, not for PDP. I'm the chairman of PDP. I love the PDP, but this is not about PDP. This is Audu Ogbeh. He was a fair man. He was a passionate man about Nigeria. He was passionate about progress. He was passionate about fairness, equity, and justice. And that's what we did. We went to all the disadvantaged states. I went to the governors. I showed them the problem. And each state was asked to give us their housing corporation, property development corporation, and we gave them large plots of land to build housing estates and so on. That's my first Audu Ogbeh story.
What a powerful start. El-Rufai begins by acknowledging the deep emotional connection he had with Chief Audu Ogbeh, even initially declining to speak due to the profound impact Ogbeh had on his public life. He then delves into the first significant interaction with Ogbeh. As chairman of the PDP, Chief Ogbeh insisted on interviewing all ministerial nominees in June 2003, a process that involved questioning them about their potential portfolios and vision. El-Rufai recounted how Ogbeh challenged him with a question about converting Abuja into a Singapore, prompting El-Rufai to mention Singapore's efficiency. His first major concern arose when an analysis of residential land allocation in the Federal Capital Territory revealed that 62% of the plots were owned by indigenes of only 3 Nigerian states. This deeply worried El-Rufai, as he believed a federal capital should represent everyone and ensure a sense of balance in land ownership. This initial story highlights Chief Ogbeh's commitment to due process and fairness and El-Rufai's early recognition of imbalances within the system. Now, let's move on to the second part of El-Rufai's relocations, where he shares another critical experience during his time as FCT minister and Chief Ogbeh's continued influence. Sit back and take a watch.
The second one happened a little after I had settled in the FCT. We had marked all illegal buildings for demolition. One of them was a Catholic church in Asoko. It was a residential plot that someone donated to the Catholic church. They built a church. It was wrongly located in a junction, a traffic nightmare, and I was going to take it down. As you all know, when I was Minister of FCT, I was an equal opportunity demolisher. I didn't care what it was. If it violated, it could, but. So the building was marked. Very senior Catholics in Abuja came and talked to me. I said, look, I'm here to restore the Abuja master plan. I'm not going to. I've heard you, but you know the problem. This church blocks traffic every Sunday. It inconveniences residents. My job is to remove that inconvenience. I don't know who advised them that they were getting nowhere. But the next time they came back with Chief Audu Ogbeh. And he said to me, he said, Nasir, we gave you a job to do. Yes, you are right. Everything, unlike them that were trying to tell me that, you know, this or that. He said, look, you are right. This building inconveniences people once a week. He said, is that inconvenience not worth praying to God for Abuja, for Nigeria, for humanity? I said, yes, sir. I accepted that argument only because it came from Chief Audu Ogbeh. That building was spared because of him. And I want to say here and now, anybody that thought that that building survived for any other reason, it did not. It was because of Audu Ogbeh.
Hallelujah.
So that church should continue to pray for Chief Audu Ogbeh. Otherwise, it would have been a football field now, or a park. He was a devout Catholic. He was proud of who he was. But it also never colored his eyes or his mind about our common humanity. He was a wonderful, wonderful person. And my brother, Boss Mustafa, has explained the role he played in the formation of the APC and strengthening it. I will tell you my last story, which is a sad one. Shortly after we won the elections, a very good friend of mine, who also contributed a lot to the election, came to me and said, look, I want to be the SGF. Can you go to President Buhari and talk on my behalf? I said, why not? So I went to the president-elect at the time. I said, Mr. President, Mr. XYZ is interested in being the SGF. And he said, well, yes, but I want to appoint someone from the Middle Belt, a Christian, as my SGF. Everybody says I don't like Christians. I want to give the most important job, the most important appointment in the government to the Middle Belt. And this friend of mine is not from there. He says, so please find a way to explain to him that I've decided that that's where I'm picking my SGF from. So I went back. As a messenger, I passed the message. I then went back to President Buhari. I said, so who are you thinking of appointing, by the way? He said, I have only one name in mind. Chief Audu Ogbeh. I said, excellent choice, sir. Congratulations. And I left. I went back to Kaduna because I was also trying to put together my own team in Kaduna. Unfortunately, some people around the president felt that Chief Audu Ogbeh was too accomplished. He will be too independent. He will not bend. So they packaged a story that Chief Audu Ogbeh had an outstanding loan with the bank for his agricultural business to the tune of $1 billion or $2 billion, and that if he was appointed SGF, his first priority would be to pay off his loans rather than do the job. I don't know how they played President Buhari, but the next time he called me, he said, look, some things have come up and I'm appointing someone else as SGF. I said, why? It took me time because President Buhari is very difficult to extract, get him to talk. After the SGF was announced, I now found out this was what he was told. I went to him, I said, sir, borrowing is not a crime. Chief Audu Ogbeh is a thriving farmer. He has a big farming business. You can go and see it. And it is functioning. He's paying back the loan. Borrowing is not a crime. President Buhari said, look, Nasir, I feel bad. I have realized that I was just misled. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to appoint him Minister of Agriculture. I'm saying this for the first time. I've never shared this with anybody. I don't know whether boss knows the story or part of it, but this was between me and President Buhari with regards to Audu Ogbeh. And both of them are with their maker now. May their souls rest in perfect peace.
In the second part of his talk, El-Rufai recounts two more compelling stories. The first reveals his tough stance at the FCT minister, stating he was an equal opportunity demolisher who did not care what illegal structure he had to take down. He detailed an instance where a Catholic church built on a residential plot and causing traffic issues was marked for demolition. Despite appeals from very senior Catholics, El-Rufai stood firm until Chief Audu Ogbeh intervened, arguing that the inconvenience of the church occurred only once a week. This intervention saved the church. Demonstrating Ogbeh's influence and compassionate approach, El-Rufai then shared a poignant final story about the appointment of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, under President Buhari. He advocated for his friend. However, there was a calculated attempt by some around President Buhari to discredit Chief Audu Ogbeh, portraying him as too accomplished and too independent to be the SGF. This was also fueled by an outstanding agricultural loan he had with a bank. El-Rufai revealed that President Buhari, after hearing the full story, realized he had been misled. As a result, Ogbeh was appointed Minister of Agriculture with the understanding that borrowing is not a crime, especially when loans are being repaid. Now, for my critical take. These stories from Nasir El-Rufai shed significant light on the political dynamics and leadership style prevalent during these periods in Nigeria. El-Rufai's raw honesty, particularly about the emotional weight of discussing a mentor and the personal hits he took as a ministerial nominee, adds a rare human touch to political discourse. His account of the land allocation in Abuja is a stark reminder of the ethnic and regional imbalance that have historically plagued national institutions and resource distribution. This resonates deeply, highlighting the ongoing struggle for true federal character and equitable representation in Nigeria. The intervention by Chief Audu Ogbeh in the church demolition case paints a picture of a leader who, while firm on principle, also considered the human element and potential for inconvenience to citizens, even for issues that might seem minor to those in power. His ability to influence decision and advocate for fairness stands out. Finally, the narrative surrounding the SGF appointment and Chief Ogbeh's eventual role as Minister of Agriculture is a testament to the complex interplay of competence, perceived independence, and political maneuvering. It shows how personal biases and misinformation can influence high-level decisions, but also how principled leaders like President Buhari, in his instance, can correct course when presented with the full truth. The emphasis on borrowing not being a crime, especially for productive ventures like agriculture, challenges prevailing negative perception and underscores the importance of supporting entrepreneurship. Overall, El-Rufai's Revolutions offers valuable lessons on leadership, integrity, and the continuous efforts required to build a truly inclusive and just nation. They remind us that behind every policy and appointment are individuals with their own stories, struggles, and motivations. Thank you for joining Oba's Trending Gist. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more trending discussions.